One of the most popular characters in the horror genre, and one that some like a lot, is Dracula. Not only has he made a place of his own in Universal monster movies and novels, but he's also wormed his way as the Lord of Vampires among the heroes and villains of the Marvel Universe. This popularity didn't happen overnight. He's been featured in Marvel Comics since 1970. It's time we take a deep dive into the anatomy of Marvel's Dracula, so without wasting any time, let's get into it. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Who is Dracula? How did he become a vampire? Vlad Tepes Dracula, a 15th century prince of Wallachia, gained power and prestige through cunning warfare and strategic alliances. He was also known as Vlad the Impaler for his passion for eliminating his foes. However, his ambition led him down a dark path. Dracula was gravely injured by the Turkish warlord Turak when he wanted to conquer the territory of Turkey. Turak took him to a gypsy named Leanda for healing, but Leanda was a vampire, and in revenge for Dracula's torment of the gypsies, she put him under the vampire's curse. Thus began his everlasting reign as Count Dracula, a vampire sorcerer and nobleman from Transylvania who has lived for centuries. Count Dracula held absolute power in his fortress, Castle Dracula, fueled by an endless desire for blood, companionship, and control. His eternal life brought him into conflict with vampire hunters, rival immortals, and even superheroes. A large group of loyal followers, brides, cultists, and minions stood firmly by him, always prepared to resurrect him if necessary. As per the latest information, Dracula and his followers have been sighted in Chernobyl, where they've established a new sanctuary for creating a vampire nation, which brings him into conflict with the Avengers. How did Dracula become the Lord of Vampires in Marvel? Before we explore how Vlad became the Lord of the Vampires, it's important to understand the first official vampire in the Marvel Universe, Varney. He is the original source of every vampire you've encountered in Marvel history. Varney's origin is rooted in a dark conspiracy to assassinate the legendary King Kull, a mighty Atlantean-born ruler who had killed Thulsa Doom, a powerful undead sorcerer. Thulsa's followers used a dark spell from the powerful Chthon, later known as the Darkhold, to resurrect a wizard with immense dark powers and a thirst for blood, capable of passing these traits to others. That's how Varney was born. Varney was an abomination created through dark magic. His creators made him so powerful that they lost control of him. He brutally slaughtered his enemies and resurrected them as his minions, establishing the first vampire horde in the Marvel Universe. For centuries, Varney reigned as the Lord of the Vampires, worshipped as a deity by his undead followers. Eventually, he was forced into hibernation, encased in a protective cocoon of human remains, awaiting his next opportunity to strike. Varney emerged from his sticky slumber, but he had grown weary of life and was pursuing two things: oblivion and a successor to inherit his legacy. In an attempt to designate his eternal heir, he created the first king of the vampires, a humble fiend named Nimrod. Varney intentionally sent Nimrod into an impossible battle against a recently resurrected prince, more commonly known as Dracula. When Dracula triumphed over Nimrod, Varney compelled him to consume his ancient blood, transferring his abilities and position as the Lord of the Vampires. With this task accomplished, Varney stepped into the bright sunlight, allowing the harsh rays to turn him into ashes, and paving the way for Dracula to ascend the title. What is his relation to Bram Stoker's Dracula? Bram Stoker's Dracula is a gothic horror novel set in the late 19th century, and it remains a classic among horror fans. The Dracula he brings to novel readers in 1897 is very similar to the one readers experience in the comics. However, several events occur quite differently in Bram Stoker's book compared to the comics. In Stoker's book, by the end, Dracula is decapitated and staked in the heart, so he cannot resurrect himself. That's the end for him. In the comics, the character possesses shape-shifting abilities, allowing him to evade Dr. John Seward and Abraham Van Helsing. They didn't utilize wood or silver, which could actually defeat him. As a result, he escapes by transforming into mist, slipping away from their grasp. The comics even reference a character named Bram Stoker in Vlad Dracula's timeline. Here, Stoker discovers a stolen diary of Dracula at a second-hand bookstall while meeting a colleague in London. This diary inspired him to write Dracula. He gathers journals and newspaper clippings related to sinister vampiric activities as research for his book. Upon the publication of Stoker's book, Dracula was dissatisfied because the accounts were not truthful. What makes Dracula physically superior to other vampires? As the Lord of the Vampires, Dracula possesses an unmatched range of powers and abilities. His exceptional physical abilities encompass superhuman strength, speed, agility, and reflexes, making him a tough adversary in hand-to-hand combat. His mastery of 15th century warfare and swordsmanship is unmatched. He possesses sharp fangs and claws, along with the ability to control others with a glance. Dracula's impressive magical abilities allow him to control the elements, animals, and other vampires. He can summon thunderstorms, command bats, rats, and wolves, and even bend the wills of others to his. His hypnotic powers are particularly strong, enabling him to manipulate the minds of even the strongest-willed individuals, except for those with exceptional mental resilience, such as Professor X and Doctor Strange. Except for a wooden stake, Dracula is immune to conventional attacks, and has the ability to heal rapidly, making him extremely resilient. He can recover from even the most severe of injuries, including those caused by magical attacks, with fresh blood. Additionally, he can be resurrected from complete destruction through magical rituals, or the tears of a virgin. His ability to transform into various forms, such as mist, bats, and wolves, enables him to move undetected and strike with deadly precision. Dracula is a cunning strategist known for his intellect and control over lesser vampires. These qualities make him a powerful presence in the realm of the undead. Can he survive without blood? Dracula's existence is deeply entangled with his need for fresh blood. This vital crimson elixir sustains his immortality. Without it, he would slowly weaken and decline. Dracula's thirst for blood is an unquenchable craving that compels him to hunt for victims. He uses his charm, cunning, and supernatural abilities to draw them in. For him, feeding is not just a physical need, it's a sensual experience that satisfies his hunger and restores his strength. Dracula's powers diminish if he goes without feeding for a few hours. His movements grow slow, his senses dull, and his presence becomes less imposing. Dracula's ability to transform and manipulate the minds of others or exert his elemental powers starts to weaken. His invulnerability to conventional attacks diminishes, making him more susceptible to harm. It's a time when a wooden stake poses a serious threat, so he cannot survive without blood. How does his healing compare to Wolverine's? Wolverine possesses one of the strongest healing factors in comics. Logan's unique biology allows his body to regenerate, healing damage caused by being shot, stabbed, burned, or blown up throughout his career as a superhero. Wolverine's healing factor is exceptionally powerful because his veins carry what Dr. Boggs describes as a nuclear arsenal of protein. Boggs theorizes that Logan's stem cells function as a sort of fountain of youth. Essentially, his healing ability is a faster version of normal human healing, which makes his blood one of the rarest and most valuable substances in the Marvel Universe. However, there is a catch. These unique powers diminish quickly after his blood is extracted. However, Dracula's healing factor is quite impressive, but it's not as instantaneous or comprehensive as Wolverine's. His recovery process occurs at a slower pace. Consuming blood greatly boosts his healing, enabling rapid recovery from injuries and efficient tissue regeneration. At one point in Wolverine number 12, Dracula tries to establish his nation of vampires and begins using Wolverine's stolen blood to empower his followers, as it allowed them to withstand sunlight. Elite vampires started wearing devices known as blood clocks. These devices utilized Logan's healing ability to help them avoid sunlight and reduce their need for human blood. As a result, Wolverine feels a personal responsibility to eliminate these supernatural predators. Does his body age or change over time? As a vampire, Dracula retains the gift of eternal youth, which makes him immune to the effects of aging. His body remains in a constant state of vitality, unaffected by the natural processes that govern the lives of mortals. Even though Dracula is centuries old, he still looks incredibly youthful and vigorous. Dracula's immunity to aging grants him a unique perspective on the world. He has not only witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations, but also seen the way time impacts humanity, deepening his understanding of life. However, Dracula's immunity to aging comes at a terrible cost. He's doomed to walk the earth forever, watching those he loves grow old and die. One possible reason for his menacing actions is his desire to feel something in his bleak life. At times, he seeks solace in the shadows, and when his loneliness becomes overwhelming, he transforms ordinary humans into children of the night, or brides so he doesn't have to face his solitude alone. What are Dracula's weaknesses? With great power comes great vulnerability, and Dracula's main weakness is his reliance on fresh blood to sustain his energy. If he doesn't consume approximately a quart of blood, his powers will slowly diminish, eventually leading to a comatose condition. Dracula is highly vulnerable to silver, which can cause serious injury, even death. Additionally, wounds caused by silver heal at a much slower rate than normal. Similarly, a wooden stake plunged into his heart can also prove fatal. Decapitation and exposure to fire or sunlight are additional methods that can result in his demise. He's still susceptible to garlic, magical items like the blood gem, and certain spells, including the Montesi formula. Religious symbols such as the Star of David or a crucifix can affect Dracula. However, there is a catch. The strength of the wielder's faith determines the extent of the impact. Such an instance occurred in X-Men issue number 159, where Dracula confronted Kitty Pryde while she was holding a cross. However, the cross didn't affect him because Kitty was Jewish. Believing that he was invulnerable, Dracula attempted to choke her, but was burned by her Star of David necklace, which forced him to retreat. During daylight hours, he must rest in his coffin, which needs to be lined with soil from his homeland. This requirement helps him maintain his powers and enables him to travel more than 100 miles from his birthplace. Dracula does not have a reflection and usually needs an invitation to enter a house. While his powers can sometimes be increased and his weaknesses avoided through magic, he can come back to life even after seemingly being destroyed by some means. How does his intelligence compare to Marvel's top minds? Intelligence is not just a magical video game statistic. It varies in forms and strengths, depending on the situation and skill set. Take Doctor Strange, for example. He's highly intelligent and exceptionally skilled in the realms of spells and sorcery. He skillfully combines his magical abilities in innovative ways, making him one of the most powerful characters in the Marvel Universe. When it comes to Reed Richards, he's incredibly intellectual with his expertise in science. He's content to spend hours in a lab collecting extraterrestrial samples, analyzing data, and develop theories based on his finding. But Dracula's intellect is an intimidating characteristic feature of his, refined over centuries of experience and strategic maneuvering. He adapts quickly to changing situations, often outsmarting his adversaries with cunning foresight. His centuries of observing humans give him a deep psychological insight, allowing him to exploit the fears and desires of those around him. He's like a chess player, always thinking several moves ahead of his opponents. Although he may not match the intellectual brilliance of polymaths like Reed Richards or Doctor Strange, his cognitive abilities are highly specialized and effective in their own right. Dracula's manipulative nature is a key part of his intelligence. He cleverly uses his charm and supernatural powers to influence others and bend them to his will. By understanding people's motivations and desires, he crafts persuasive arguments and manipulates situations to his advantage. What is Dracula's relationship with Blade? Blade, aka Eric Brooks, first appeared in Tomb of Dracula issue number 10. He was born to a mother infected with vampirism, and endowed with superhuman powers from a bite by Morbius the living vampire. This made Blade a half-human, half-vampire known as a Daywalker. He possesses most of the strengths of vampires without any of their vulnerabilities. As a result, he's dedicated his life to ridding the world of vampires. Since then, he and Dracula have been enemies, constantly at odds. He has staked Dracula so many times, whether solo or with a team of Drake, Rachel Helsing, and Quincy Harker. But one way or another, Dracula is resuscitated back to life. No hero in the Marvel Universe has defended against supernatural terrors and monstrous threats as fiercely and committedly as Blade. He has fought everything from satanic cults to cosmic threats on an Avenger-level scale. However, his origins are firmly rooted in Marvel's realm, where he holds the title of the greatest vampire hunter of all time. But now, there is a new dynamic shift between them. In the recent series, Blade, Vampire Nation issue number 1, Dracula established a new sovereign state in Chernobyl as a haven for all vampires. In exchange for their sovereignty, the UN imposed one condition, that Blade serve as the sheriff of Vampirsk. Blade's expertise in fighting vampires makes him ideal to oversee law enforcement in the vampire community. This adds a unique twist to their long-standing feud. As the newly appointed peacekeeper of the Vampire Nation, Blade's first task is to navigate the assassination of Corvus, a prominent member of Dracula's Vampire Council. By taking on the role of sheriff in Vampirsk, he gains exceptional oversight and authority to monitor vampire activities. This position allows him to anticipate and neutralize potential threats, making him a proactive force against vampire schemes. Blade remains wary of Dracula's true motives, suspecting that his plans to create a new vampire nation hide a more sinister agenda. Dracula has now revealed a shocking truth. The assassination was actually meant for him, not for one of his council members. He implores Blade to investigate the source of the revolution against him, which sets them on a dangerous path that veers away from their historical animosity. Blade now finds himself in an unexpected role as a protector, tasked with ensuring Dracula's safety instead of hunting him. What are blood zombies? In a surprising development, Dracula has revealed an unknown ability that nobody knew was possible, the power to create blood zombies. This unsettling talent comes to life in Blade number 6, when Dracula and Blade form an easy alliance to confront a formidable threat together, Adana. Adana is Blade's arch-nemesis, who previously not only failed to defeat her, but had unknowingly strengthened her. Adana has now taken control of the powerful Lightbringer weapon, and is using it to unleash a literal hell on Earth. So how does Adana relate to blood zombies? Dracula's blood zombies are twisted, blood-based creatures that serve as a training tool to push Blade to his limits. By unleashing these grotesque creatures, Dracula aims to sharpen Blade's skills and prepare him for an epic battle that's on the horizon. As Blade battles the blood zombies, Dracula watches his fighting style and later offers critiques to help him improve. This unconventional training method highlights Dracula's cleverness and resourcefulness. At this point, it appears that Dracula's abilities related to blood are boundless. This expertise could be a significant advantage for Blade. With Dracula's guidance, Blade may be able to access new strength and strategy, potentially altering the balance of power in their fight against the Adana. Marvelous verdict. That brings us to everything we know about Marvel's Dracula. It will be even more exciting to watch his character on the big screen if he's introduced in the MCU. Who do you think will be the best fit to play Dracula? Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comment section below. Until then, take care and steer clear of the dark corners where the children of the night hide to prey. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.